Welcome back to Chartbusters. Well, the markets are virtually unmoved. That's the Nifty itself, though from the broader markets there's a fair bit of traction. And the first management that we have today is IFGL Refractories. Remember, the stock is up close to around 20% in this year itself. They reported a good set of numbers in the fourth quarter. The question is this sort of a performance sustainable? Remember, they're a beneficiary of the steel space because they're directly linked out there. To understand more about the way ahead, well, we are joined by Mr. Kamal Sarda, the CEO at IFGL Refractories. Hi, Mr. Sarda. Good morning, and thanks so much for joining in on the show. What stood out in the last quarter was your margins. The consolidated margins moved to around 13% approximately, with EBITDA at around close to 48 crores. Now, the question the street is asking is, what sort of a margin number is sustainable? And can you move at this quarterly run rate of around 45 to around 50 crores approximately?
Yeah, our margins have been directly linked to the market. The steel market in India as well as globally has been reasonably well, especially in India. I think the margins are a sustainable level of margins. And going forward, also, I would say the Indian steel market, as you know, Indian steel industry is doing very good. And they are one of the only large country recording a positive growth in the steel. And I'm coming to IFGL specifically, despite the economic crisis in Europe, mainly due to the conflict in the East, we have done quite well. And the Indian economy has also done quite well for that matter. IFGL has been primarily focused from India on exports in the last 5 to 10 years. But now we have switched our focus to the domestic market. And I would say the domestic market is quite exciting. If you look at the national steel policy, it's going from the current level of 150, 160 million metric tons to 300 million metric tons in the next 8 years.
Right.
So this very, very big boost.
So that explains the optimism that everyone has about India itself. We'll talk a little about the domestic market in just a bit, but on an overall basis, just wanted to understand, what kind of revenue projections do you have for the next year? You said margins are sustainable, so should we work with a band of 12 to 14%, or should we work with 13% itself? And the Sheffield unit, which you acquired, there was contribution of 20 crores in the fourth quarter. What does that contribute in the next year?
Yes. So Sheffield, we acquired on 24th of Feb. So it was only 1 month turnover which got added. So that was 20 crores. So you can extrapolate that. That will get a full year of 180 crore plus turnover in the next financial year. And as far as the margins are concerned, I think we are looking at a plus 12% margins going forward also.
Okay. And on the revenue top line of?
Revenue top line, if you look at the past growth, we have had about 12 to 15% CAGR. And we are looking at a very similar growth going forward also.
Don't you think it should be more? Because, last year you did close to around 1,380 crores, Mr. Sarda. Now you're saying from this acquisition itself, you'll get 180 crores.
No, I'm talking of, Nigel, excluding the acquisition
excluding.
Part.
All right. So just to put that down,
will get just added.
Okay, so you'll do around 1,510 crores approximately. Actually you'll do more than that, close to 1,550 crores approximately in your erstwhile unit, and plus say you add, so you'll do close to around 1,700 crores for this year.
I think yes, we should look at about 1,700 crores.
1,700 crores with margins of that 12 to 13%. Got that. The other point is your market share in India. I do a rough calculation. I say the industry in India is around 13,000 crores. You're doing close to around 800 crores of revenues from India itself. So your market share is what? Mid-single digits? 6% approximately? And
so
also, have you gained market share? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. The market share in India, we are a significant player in the Indian market, in the refractories which we deal in. So I will say, I don't have the full figures, but I will say we are a major share in the Indian market. And with the growth in the Indian steel industry, we will grow definitely much more than that. And in the last few years, we definitely have gained the Indian market a bit more.
Okay, all right. Mrs. Sarda, also, you're spending close to 180 crores of capex. Could you tell us what is the asset turn we should see out there? And from when will this capex start reflecting? Is it the asset turn 2.5 times, 3 times approximately? Could you tell us that? And where do we see the
I think
benefit of this?
for any brownfield, we should look at a 3x figures.
Okay.
And the capex will get majorly completed by March 24. So we should look at anywhere between 2 to 4 years to get a reasonable share of that additional incremental turnover.
Okay. All right. So that's close to 600 crores is what we're looking at. So safe to say in the next, in the next 3-4 years, the revenue, given the kind of growth that you're looking at, from around 1,380 crores that you delivered last year, plus you've done inorganic growth and your units are stabilizing as well, could you potentially double your revenue, say, in the next 4 years, 2,500 crores?
Optimistically, you should look at 4 to 5 years. Yes, why not?
Okay.
Yeah.
So 4 to 5 years, you will double your revenue. What about further inorganic plans? I mean, you have, plans to expand your capacity. Some inorganic acquisition has happened by virtue of Sheffield. Further growth in capacity, are any inorganic plans on board?
So we are on a constant lookout of good acquisitions, both in India as well as overseas. There are talks going on always, but as and when happens, we will share with the market. And as far as capital expansion is concerned, there could be in the future, it may happen a bit more.
Right. And you said that you're looking at assets both domestically and overseas as well. But at the start, you also said that you're looking at the domestic market a little more. Could you give us a sense of what your revenue proportion right now is overseas and domestic? And how is that likely to change going forward?
In this financial year, I think after a long time, we have had domestic sales higher than the export sales. So this year, we had 55% of the Indian turnover as domestic sales. Last year, it was 45%. And I think going forward, the domestic market looks to be very exciting, and this proportion may change a bit further in favor of the domestic market. And we have put, if you look at the technology center, which we are in the process of building, that will also help us in acquiring a good market in India. Hitherto, we were all dependent on acquired technologies. So now we will have our own in-house developed technologies and development activities for the Indian steel industry. So this will also give us a kind of a leverage to cater to the Indian industry a bit more.
Okay, all right. Mr. Sarda, one point that the street is a little bit cautious on is you are so bullish on the India story. But inorganic growth you're doing overseas. I mean, there were a couple of assets, say, in the last 12 to 18 months that were available domestically as well. Why aren't you all going for that? Don't you think you should be focusing more on the domestic inorganic growth? Or do you think that still there is better prospects in the overseas market in terms of inorganic growth?
So we are looking, as I said, we will look at both domestic as well as overseas. We have to also look at the blend of the market as well as the technology.
Okay.
So that is where we will focus on.
Okay. All right.
And the PLI scheme, I mean, you're speaking about the domestic market and, the opportunities that India provides. One of them could perhaps be the PLI scheme as well, right? I understand that the center is aiming at covering refractories as well in PLI 2.0.
Yes.
How does that change things for you, and by when is this likely to be announced?
So I think the government is working on it. We will wait for the details to it, but definitely it will help the domestic refractory industry quite a bit, and to help support the government to reach to this 300 million metric ton of capacities. We'll wait for some more details, but definitely it will be a very, very positive for the industry.
Okay, it's been good speaking to you, Mr. Sarda. Thanks so much for joining in. You traded a bit of a discount in comparison to your larger peers, but you're sounding confident. 1,700 crores this year, around 13% margins, and you could potentially double revenues in the next 4 years or so. It's been good speaking to you. Look forward to interacting with you more often.